Okay, friends, I thought I would go ahead and do a quick video tour of my craft studio. So here it is, me entering in from the hallway. It's a fairly small room, pretty tight quarters. I've utilized pretty much every bit of space possible. Up here I have, up on the very top shelf is just some things that I don't really have to grab very often other than my camera and some light supplies up there I do need to get down, but again, I've run out of space. And then here in the shelving unit, top two shelves are all my rubber stamps. And actually, yeah, the top two shelves. And then on this next shelf is my treasured old vintage books and music pages and things that I've been collecting, which are just really exciting. I just recently picked up some that are from the early 1920s, so really exciting. And then just down here is just my kind of general paper, printer paper, my washi tape display case there, and then on the bottom shelf is mixed media paper, and in the bin is my Cricut cartridges, which I don't really use the Cricut much. When I do workshops, I'll get it out and be able to cut shapes, but I don't use it a whole lot. And then over here we have on the top all of my different kinds of watercolor markers, my Zig Clean Color watercolor markers, or brush pens, excuse me. And in those two baskets are my distress inks, my embossing powders, embossing inks, and sponge daubers and things like that. This side of the room over here that we're looking at now is kind of where I set when I'm doing watercolor and paper crafting, because all the supplies on that side of the room are associated with that kind of media. Down here in these drawers, I keep the two bottom drawers on the left are just kind of catch-all drawers. Things I don't know where they belong or they don't have a home. And then here in these little drawers I have my bling, so it's all the shiny fun stuff, princessy stuff. In here are all of the butterflies, a variety. There's stickers and then just three-dimensional kinds of butterflies. More bling in there. And this is doilies and tags and things like that. And then in this little cupboard is where I keep my watercolor, sorry, give me a second here. My Neo color crayons and a variety of other things, some watercolor markers, my Derwent color sticks palette here, which I probably should move because I forget that it's in there. And then over here, the top drawer is my alcohol ink supply and supplies. And so I've got my alcohol inks, my other products that I use with it, the alcohol ink, Yupo paper, things like that. And then in here I have leaves and flowers, and all of those drawers are leaves and flowers, lace, ribbon, twine, and I apologize for the angle, but there's really no room to do this in this studio, so I'm kind of having to point the camera down. More flowers and more flowers. I have a lot of flowers. Over here in this corner, that's my watercolor caddy there, the pink one. And I can kind of roll it up next to me when I'm actually sitting down to do something. In that bin on the floor is artwork that needs to be prepared for sale. And then I'm going to pan on over here to my watercolor section. Over here I keep all of my, the bottom left cube is any watercolor paintings that I've done. They kind of go in that bin until I figure out what I want to do with them. In the far right bin on the bottom are all my punches. In the middle one, the middle pink canvas tote there, are all my napkins, which are actually fantastic to work with in mixed media. So I have a big variety of those, so they're very fun. And then I have, cards that are in different varying degrees of process. So some of them need to be still created and painted. Others are just needing to be put together. So, and then here I keep all of my books, watercolor books and instructional books in this section, as well as my art journals. Over here under the desk, kind of hard to see, I have in the big pink tote is where I have all my cut watercolor paper, and then over there behind it are all my watercolor palettes stacked in that bin, which is pretty handy. And I do have quite a bit. Early on I just really collected a lot. And then we're going to back up here. I hope this isn't making anybody dizzy. And then down here, I'm not going to go through every bin, but everything is well marked, so I know that, you know, where my wood crafts are and where my yarn and ribbon is. Various mixed media supplies like cardboard, things that I've collected that I want to add to different pieces are all in there. Little tiny frames that I can use for mixed media. All of my metal things that I've collected that I want to use. The teal bin in the middle are all of my rubber stamps that are wood mounted. They're a little bit harder to store. And then in the bottom right white drawer is all of my watercolor tube paint. And so we're going to go ahead and stand up here and pan over. Oh, here in my caddy, this is kind of my catch-all caddy for mostly watercolor. This is my reaching to easy access inks and rubber stamp cleaners and some embossing powder that I grab for my alcohol, masking fluid and things like that, my stapler. And in this caddy, it's kind of a mess right now. These are some pins that a couple of my grandkids made for me for Mother's Day, which is really cool. And then again, this is just kind of a mess of stuff. But pretty much all the essential, again, grab and go kind of supplies that I would be reaching for as I'm creating my palettes, which I use a lot for my mixed media projects. Glue sticks, things like that. Usually on this table at this end, because I don't use it for actually creating, I just kind of put my works in progress here, things that need attention, that need to be either finished or things like that, usually in process. These my husband just made for me, which I'm super excited about. And what they will do is they will hold my greeting cards so I can actually take photos with my cards standing straight up. So I need to paint those and get those ready to use. And I always keep this bucket of water in here on the corner of my table so that when I'm doing mixed media, I can just throw my stencils in there. And I don't have to worry about the paint or the various mediums sticking to them, and I don't have to get up to the sink every time I'm needing to be done with one. So that works out really, really well. And then over here, we're going to go backwards here again. Again, the room is very small. And I'm not going to bend down because there's not any room to really move, but I have my printer, scanner, fax machine there, and my laptop. And over in the far corner is my a lot of distress markers, alcohol ink markers. In the drawers are bits and pieces of Infera and rice paper. And then down below the printer is all my distress ink and distress oxide inks. And in the second drawer are my Ranger archival inks and a variety of others. I believe there's Memento inks in there and a couple of other brands of just bits and pieces. Down there on the bottom cube, that's all my watercolor paper. I kind of ran out of room on the watercolor side of the studio, so I had to put them there. And then over in that corner, those two, you can probably tell I don't need to really explain that, all my scrapbook paper, cardstock. And then in the one there that I'm pointing at now, that's where I keep all of my prints that I printed out, printables that I printed, some of my own prints, of photos that I've taken of my own work that I would later use in other projects. So that's where I kind of organize and keep all that in those top two bins there. And then over here, this is my nice little sweet section of just things that bring me joy. That's my husband and I in the early years, are one of our wedding photos, and then some pictures when we were dating, and that's always fun. We'll be celebrating 37 years married this at the end of this month, actually. And in here, I'm going to go ahead and open this. So on the bottom drawer, I have my adhesive, all adhesives. This drawer is also more adhesives, masking tape, and things like that. And my Dilutions paints, which I love to work with. They're great in art journaling. And in here I have my distressed crayons and gelatos. And this is the Brush Show watercolor powder, which is just so much fun to work with. It's very messy, but very, very fun. And then over here, in these two organizers, I have, these are printed things or stamped designs that I've stamped, or they're being processed, they're being painted, or they're just being finished. And then here are my completed cards, which need to be photographed so that I can post them and sell them. Over here is my Big Shot machine, which I love. I look to use it more as I develop more of my own techniques. And here I just kind of keep, again, works in progress, things that I'm kind of fussing around with that I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with. So that works out there really well. And then I am going to show you this section because it is my favorite, but I'm bumped up against the table right now, so it's a little bit tight. So this is my my some of my chipboard, and then these are chipboard letters, which are really cool to use. I do have collected quite a bit of chipboard, and this is all my chipboard from Creative Embellishments. If you ever want to get a good selection of this kind of thing, the Creative Embellishments has a huge supply, and they're in the United States. There are some other suppliers, but they're in other states or other countries, and they're very difficult to order from, or very, very expensive to ship. So, and here are some wood bits. So I have wood tags, wood panels, you know, in fun shapes. I just picked these up. I thought they'd be fun in mixed media. They're little wooden numbers, kind of like bingo numbers. And then this is just a variety of keys and hearts and tiny little frames, which are fun to use for mixed media. So that's what all is in that bin. Down here, more chipboard. So this is alphabet letters, which are really fun, and some scrolly things. I don't know what you call those, flourishes, I guess. So those are all, they're a combination of wood and chipboard. I need to reorganize because I kind of messed things up. And this is more wood bits to use with mixed media. And then down here, again, more wood, bigger frames. These wood panels are really nice. If you want to, you know, I like to use them to put a rice paper design on and then attach that to the top of a box, or make it pop out on a canvas. That's pretty fun. So I'm going to move over here to the other side. And in here I have more bigger wood bits, so things like this that are just kind of really, really big. A lot of larger words are in that drawer. And then in here, this bin here is all of the metal bits, wood things that shells and things that I have already pre-gessoed. So they're ready to use. So these are all can be painted whatever color I choose when I get ready to do a project. This one was super fun, this little flower bracelet. I had a dear friend who gave me a bunch of stuff that she had purchased that's just kind of broken jewelry and things like that. This is all my metal that I use for mixed media, and I use it a lot. So lots of fun things in here. I have more than I could ever use in my lifetime, but it's fun to be able to have a lot of choices. So some little clockworks and frames and things. That's from Tim Holtz. So that's cool. And then down here, more of the already gessoed embellishments. This is the chipboard, so it's already ready to go. And the reason for that is because if you try to just put acrylic paint on chipboard, it will soak into the chipboard and it will lose its vibrancy. So when you give it a coat of gesso, the paint actually adheres to it better. And then these are some Prima Marketing resin frames, and then other little frames that I picked up over the years that I haven't used yet. So that's that. And then in here I have all of my Prima, these are some of the Rust Effects paints and other just like iridescent shades of paint, I guess is what you'd say. That's probably not the right way to say it, but I'm not sure. Whoops, I already looked in that one. And here is my pan pastels, which I really need to use those more. I need to figure out how to do it. It was kind of an impulse buy, and I haven't really spent a lot of time doing that. So now I'm standing up here. And in my two carts here, I have in the pink one, I have all of my acrylic paints. Well, not all of them, but my kind of the craft acrylic paints in those, and then rags and things in the bottom. And over here, this is like my favorite section because these are all the mediums that I use. So all of my, texture paste, texture sand, matte medium, gesso, all that kind of stuff is kept there in that top bin. And then down here, more towels, baby wipes, water bottle, and then in the bottom looks to be a lot of junk. So that is that section. And then over here, I'm going to show you this section as well because it's one of my favorites. This is on this side of the room is where I do my mixed media work. So I'm going to start over here with these bins over here. So I have spray inks, I have watercolor inks. They're over here because, again, I ran out of room. And I've got some India inks back there. And then this is my most used drawer. So it has all of my fluid acrylics, my golden fluid acrylics, as well as I think these are high flow, which I don't use those as much. Some colors I have, but, and then this is, these here are acrylic ink, which are fantastic, very fun to work with. And then back here are the infusions, and they are fantastic. I hope to do a video soon on those. They create kind of a brownish look to your journal page. You brush it on with water, and it actually, every color is embedded with a kind of a brown color that makes it kind of look old and antique. So that's really fun. So I enjoy that. On my desk here, and I apologize, I am skipping around. I've got my, again, these are kind of grab and go things that I use all the time. Spray bottle, and these are the Faber-Castell artist pit pins in the large and the small. And then Posca pins here, which are great for art journaling, as well as they're an acrylic pin basically, which are nice. And then some other adhesives that I use more for mixed media rather than paper crafting. In this little caddy, I have all my drawing pencils and little water squirter things. And these are my acrylic brushes, and over there are my watercolor brushes. And so we'll start here. These are my stamps that I keep close to my mixed media section because they're more of my background stamps that I grab to add to a mixed media project to create some background texture. So I keep those close by rather than over on the other side of the room. And here I have my Prima waxes, which are fantastic. I hope to be able to purchase some of the new colors. They have some fantastic colors out. Alphabet peg stamps. I really struggle with these because there's nowhere that the stickers that they came with to put on the end, they didn't work, and so I don't really use those. And then this is just a variety of little mixed media flakes that you can add to a project to create some dimension, some little beads and things also that can be added to, for instance, texture paste or matte medium and added to your project. And here I have my Jane Davenport acrylic paints, and then a variety of other of these little tube paints. Firefly, so multiple brands here in this drawer, but they're nice when you're just doing something really small, just to kind of grab those. And then in this drawer here, I keep all my mats that I use to put under my projects when I'm doing mixed media. Oh, I missed the top drawer. These are my Liquitex Basics paints, as well as my Deco Art Premium paints. They're some of my favorites. I prefer them for mixed media over the craft paint, so I use those a lot. And then down here are my Liquitex heavy body acrylics, which again are my favorites, which is why they're to the right of me all the time, so that when I'm creating I don't have to get up. I can just kind of grab them and go to work. And then these are my Arteza acrylic colors, which I really like. I know there's been some negative reviews on these in terms of the size, because they are very small tubes, but for mixed media, they work just fine, in my opinion. They're very vibrant, and I've really, really enjoyed them, so that's all right. And then in here I've got cardboard, and then I just found those license plates that I hope to be using. Those should be really, really fun. And again, those are things that I grab for, like the cardboard I grab for. In here are puzzle pieces, dominoes, and things like that that I use to create magnets. This drawer has lace, all kinds of beautiful lace. And then this one has some wood boxes and things like that to craft with. And then in here is mixed media, so it's just a variety of things. This is one of the, had a doll that broke, and this doll was very meaningful to me, and I'm waiting for the right time to craft with that. It's not now. So in there is just a variety of mixed media bits. So, and then down here we have bubble wrap, and other things that create some texture. Mostly it's bubble wrap. And then we're gonna go up again. Hope I'm not making you dizzy. In here I have, this is just all paper bits, so cut out butterflies, cut out clocks, just a lot of different paper embellishments that I've collected. And I tend to go through this when I do a workshop, and I go through these, and I actually take them to my workshops for people to select from. And then I'm not sure what's supposed to go in there. We have an empty space. That's kind of odd. And then here, those are my Arteza gouache paint and my sponges. I have not really played with the acrylic gouache yet, or watercolor gouache, I guess. I just got them for my birthday, so I have not had a chance to use them. And then up here, I have just a variety of things. Mostly it looks like these are, they're envelopes that my husband had brought home for me to use in mixed media, so I haven't really played much with those. And then in here, again, more bits, a lot of packaging that I like to use in my mixed media. Clothing tags and things work really, really well. They create a lot of dimension in your project. So I have those, again, easy to grab. And then just more Infera. It's just that I've separated it kind of out by type, so I want to keep that intact. And then in here I have some more sponges, makeup wedges, and then this is powder, I believe powder acrylic sprinkles. And then these are all my Magicals, which I love. They're Lindy's Stamp Gang Magicals and Lindy's Stamp Gang embossing powders, which are really fun. The Lindsay stuff is Lindy's Stamp Gang. You get really, really messy using those products, but they're super, super fun. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was, this is another grab and go area of my studio. It sits right to the left of where I sit, and it has my brayers and all kinds of crafty stuff in there that I use to create texture. I do save my baby wipes. I let them dry out, and then I save them and incorporate them back into a project. Back there is are my Prima molds and my resin and things like that I make some of my embellishments with. And then the bottom drawer is just some books and things that I tear pages out of and use for mixed media. So I'm just going to do one more pan of the room just so you can see the whole thing. Again, starting at the door. Forgive the mess behind the door. But this is kind of the upper section of the room. So as you can see, I do have quite a bit of stuff on the walls, but they're very meaningful to me. They bring me a lot of joy. So it's important for me to have those things around me as I create. And then I have a little TV so that if I want to watch a movie while I'm crafting, or I want to listen to music, or I want to watch a movie, I can do that. And then over there is that's all my family on the walls. Each of my kids when they got married, which is pretty exciting. And then over here is kind of my fun, you know, childlike wall. And again, things I've collected over the years that have a great deal of meaning. And then over here, my absolute favorite thing in this whole room is this picture of Jesus and the little girl. Really speaks to me. And then above it, it says, peace, it does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart. So true. So anyway, I hope that you like the video. I will hopefully be able to post it if it's not too crazy. I'm still getting used to this videotaping, so we'll see how it goes. Talk to you later. Bye.